Hi guys, it's Quinn for a vlog every day in April from PTSD while black. Uh, I think I'm having a better speaking day today because I slept pretty well. My back is still hurting me because I'm trying to sleep on my back to save my shoulder, but it's not working. Anyhow, I wanted to talk about the whole Tony Robbins statements and the Me Too movement because I really love motivational speakers. And in 2013, I did my certification actually as a hypnotherapist under someone who had followed Tony's practices. And I really love neuro-linguistic programming and learning about it. Um, and so I was really hurt by the way Tony was treating that lady. I think her name was Nanine McCool. I'm proud of her for standing up to him and challenging him, his approach with stating that women who are speaking out, some women, because not all, but some, you know what the hell you're talking about, boy, that some women are blaming are staying in the victim role by outing men, and so they're gaining significance through hurting another or through pointing fingers at another person. It's kind of I'm really summing it up, but oh God, I hope I can do this without my pain taking over because I'm really hurting today. Anyhow, I was really hurt. I watched the full 11-minute video, and it's so funny because as someone who had studied NLP a little bit and did do the certification for hypnosis, I could watch and pick apart everything that he was doing to Nanine while talking to her um, uh, to basically get her to submit and go away. Or to lift himself up with the people that were around him, such as diminishing, turning his back towards her, using height, stature, intimidation, using groupthink. I could see that he was doing all of these things in the video. Um, and so I was just like, bro, instead of having a real conversation, it was more of really reclaiming his power or his stance on the topic that he was bringing up versus what real humility would have been, what a real bridge would have been acknowledging where she was coming from, acknowledging that maybe he doesn't know everything about um, the Me Too movement right there in that moment, but instead it became a power play, which, you know, chalk it up to being around patriarchy, and toxic masculinity, and there you go. That's what you get. Um, but what I wanted to talk about, because I think that my physical issues and my dealing with a concussion would have probably been a lot worse if I had not had the experience that I've had with NLP. And I'm surprised I guess it's also why I'm so surprised that my PTSD is so high. Um, because there are moments where I have choices of what I'm going to focus on and where I'm going to spend my energy. And I notice on the days that I'm having a lot of pain, I can choose to focus on being kinder to myself or being thankful for the strength that my body is able to um, exude in the day. I'm just now really getting to a place of where I'm reinforcing that because after this move, I think the move to Fresno really hurt me. But I'm starting to once again surround myself with loving and supporting people versus surrounding myself with people who detract or take away from the support um, that I'm needing, and allowing myself to say I need that support. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It's very huge in the way that someone can recover from traumatic events. And I swear, I'm really proud of my brain. Even if there are days I don't make any sense and I'm not using the right words, I'm really proud of the power of this brain that I got up here. That she's doing a lot to protect me. Yeah. Um, so what I wanted to talk about, I think part of the thing that Tony Robbins was talking about in his video were, I'm going to go over the 6 basic human needs. And then I'm also a survivor of rape as well, and that's part of my wonderful PTSD cycle. I'm going to bounce around. It's part of my PTSD cycle, is being re-triggered again and again by not being validated or listened to when I tell someone that this is what my experience is, people pulling it apart or picking it away. It's like a constant re-trigger to what had happened, that someone had committed an act of violence upon me. But that I don't choose to be a victim of what happened. I choose to be a survivor. Ooh, actually, I'll use my own story as a great example of what Tony was trying to talk about. I think I can do this. And if it's too triggering for me, I'll back off. So 6 basic human needs. There are 4 that are like primal needs, that are very simple needs, which are significance, certainty, love and connection, and variety. Creating variety in one's life, whether that's chaos or a different experience, what have you. Those are the 4 basic human needs. And he's basically, one thing that Tony teaches is if someone is having these needs as their main motivation for doing something in life, that they're going to stay kind of in a loop of, kind of think of an infinity loop of trying to gain power by acquiring something from someone else, or being motivated by the loss of those needs being met, like not being seen as significant for whatever that pain was that someone had experienced. God, I hope I can pull this off. Hope my brain doesn't tire out. Anyway, so those are the basic human needs. Then the other 2 human needs, that when a life is more focused on these, that's a life that's ready to change. And those are growth and contribution. And that if growth and contribution are the primary 2 needs that someone has to move forward, they're willing enough and able enough to make significant change in their own lives. So what I did is I kind of drew this picture of an infinity loop, which is basically kind of, if one is staying, oh, damn, my arm hurts, I don't know if I can do this. If a person is staying in those 4 basic needs, they're most likely going to be running along the infinity loop until they choose growth and contribution out of their situation. So we'll go from a place of being afraid of not being significant, afraid of not having safety, afraid of not having one's needs met, afraid of not having love and connection. And that comes from a place of weakness. And so we re-empower ourselves by being angry. That's creating, this gives you the variety. So we use variety to get us from being tired of all the fear into being angry. Well, under anger, we go from being the victim to an attacker. And that's kind of to take or grab back significance, to grab back security, to grab back love and connection. And that love and connection can either be through people who look up to you for being a bully, or people who look up to you, or you looking up to yourself through self-pity. That's another form of significance and love and connection. That's kind of what he talks about. And then where this can change, the changes can happen to get out of this cycle. There are 2 ways of changing. One is to comply and submit to the cycle, which that can be PTSD, death. That's kind of like going downwards out of this infinity loop. Or one can go upward, which would be through growth and contribution and empowerment. What Tony failed to do in his entire talk was, instead of trying to prove a woman wrong, is he spent his time, he should have used that time to talk about a woman who is empowered towards growth and contribution. The Me Too movement allows a woman who has been a victim in the victim cycle. If I use my experience, I've been in the victim cycle. When I share my story, when I share what I have gone through, it's the opposite of complying. And I contribute to other women who may not have the courage to speak up, that may be complying or dropping out or hurting themselves or what have you. But as I share my story, I add value to the lives of those around me. And in doing so, I empower myself as a reminder to stay out of the cycle of fear and anger. This is where he should have went with that talk. That's the opportunity that was presented to him, but he didn't do that. Instead, he stayed actually in the position of being an attacker. He may have had the fear of losing significance, of losing power, by letting a woman talk about her experience that is something he knows nothing really about. Okay? And instead of being willing to meet in the middle of where he could grow, he chose to attack back, to go into the anger cycle. I could watch the video and I could see Tony as he was going through this. So, yeah. I know this probably didn't make a lot of sense to most people, and this is kind of fun, trying to talk about this with my concussion brain, and yeah, with me as I am. But he had a real opportunity. He had a real opportunity here to create connection, to really create connection, and he failed on that. Instead, he was trying to get someone to submit. And I'm saddened by that, because I loved Tony as a motivational speaker. And I recognize that there's that fear of losing the support of the people who are able to pay for his services, which are usually powerful men who feel threatened. So, of course, he's protecting his pocketbook. He's protecting his own best interest. I get that. Him affirming what Nanine was saying, I have to look at her name, him affirming what she was saying is a threat to all the men who pay for his services, who want to be more powerful, because they're coming from a place of fear. They're coming from a place of lack. And that's why they go to his seminars. That's why I was interested in NLP, because I was in a place of misery and pain at the job that I was in, and I wanted to change who I was, and I wanted to change my circumstances. But I did it for growth as well. And once I started doing it for growth, I didn't care about the money, which is kind of sad, because I paid like, I don't know, at the time, yeah, money. And yeah, so it's an opportunity. That's what I would say. I would say about this whole thing that has fallen out. It's an opportunity for change. And I was praying on my heart about this. I'm going to make this a long video, because I'm passionate. You're getting to see me passionate about something that really excites me and brings me to life. I prayed about this, and I see two ways out of this. And with the story that Tony used about the man who was afraid of hiring the attractive woman, for fear of what kind of trouble will that bring to my company? Well, what kind of other people are you hiring that would cause trouble with this woman? What kind of environment are you supporting at your company? Tony could have asked that of that man. Instead, he used that story to kind of support his argument. So that tells me that there's still a lot of waking up that Tony needs to do. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's kind of like being someone who's a racist, but saying, "Oh, but I've got that black friend. Oh, I've got the my cousin's black," or something like that. That does not negate the fact that you've stated something that was wrong, or you've done something that was wrong. And one thing that was really helpful for me with the whole discussions of race was learning the difference between what I intended to do and the impact of what I did. And though Tony may not have intended to pull down the Me Too movement or attack the Me Too movement, but the impact of what he did physically with his body, verbally with the words he chose and the stories that he chose and the groupthink that he did, the impact of it was basically saying, women, I don't believe you. I don't support you. I don't empower you. That's really what he did. So the consequences that are coming up are the consequences that he's going to have to pay. And for a lot of people, I know with looking at race exchanges, for a lot of people, they don't understand the consequences until it hits their it impacts their wallet, until it impacts their ability to grow. Then they might be willing to listen. But while he still believes that he has power, he's not listening. That's just my understanding. And Tony, I absolutely loved a lot of the stuff that you've done. But this is a real opportunity that maybe he needs to have that humbling experience, have that humbling moment to be willing to change, which may look like falling flat on one's face. And I could really see when I prayed over this, I could really see that there was this moment, this opportunity, that if Tony Robbins, the big speaker, the big guru, that weak, insecure men who want to become powerful, they go to him to change their lives from the experiences that they've been having. If someone like Tony Robbins can humble himself, acknowledge what he's done, learn from women, listen to women, if he can grow and change through that, through a fall from grace, then look at the ripple and the wave of what change can happen with men, whom are most of the attackers. And look at what men can learn from him. It can change the dialogue. It can change the conversation. It can change the... It can change. Sorry. I've probably gotten to... I gotta drive. I have to go pick my husband up from work tonight. And I don't like driving at night, and I think I'm getting too excited. And I don't want to use too many spoons on this, but there could be big changes that can come from this, or things can stay the same. And Tony can lose his business. Because that's the other option with it. And I'd rather not see that happen. I'd rather see him be the bigger man. Big tall dude. Be the bigger man and grow from this. So what are some of the things that he could do to make amends in this process? Like I said, it's changing the entire approach. Learn and grow. Learn from women. Learn from women. Learn from survivors of abuse, survivors of assault, survivors of rape. Learn from their experiences. Be part of the process of empowering. And then allow his wallet to make up for the damage his mouth has done. And the ways his wallet can make up for that is by helping the most vulnerable. helping the most vulnerable. I tell him, I would tell him, because like most of my personal experience has been around, for me, like for those who've seen my older videos, have been around my experience with my own race. But listening to the most vulnerable women who are not listened to. So I'm talking about Black women. I'm talking about women of color. I'm talking about women of poor socioeconomical status. I'm talking about listening to disabled women who were also survivors, getting to the most vulnerable base, learning from them, not to talk to them, but to learn from them, and to allow himself to be changed, to allow himself to be transformed. It may transform his life coaching, and it could actually, I really see it as an opportunity to add a deeper value to the life coaching that he does. Sometimes one may be so used to having all the answers that, we start rattling stuff off and forgetting that, oh yeah, I can learn too. So I hope he chooses to learn from this. And if not, then I hope he gets ready to lose a lot of money. All right, till next time, kids. Peace.